Got Pat Murphy on the line from Bucknuts 247 Sports, talking Buckeyes positions as we head toward the spring. I'm going to leave it wide open for you in regards to assessing position battles and what intrigues you. Of course, the secondary, I can't remember a time in which I thought it was as lacking in play and production and talent as it did this past season. A lot of those issues had to do with injuries in the offseason and throughout the season. And, of course, defections to the NFL. But just to go back, I just can't remember an Ohio State secondary that performed like that. The running back situation, of course, with all the five-star talent coming in to press Master Teague. The wide receivers are loaded. The offensive line's typically loaded, although they lose some big talent. Just assess across the both sides of the ball and what intrigues you.
Well, since you started with the secondary, I'll start there. Obviously, this is a big deal to go along with how we started talking about the coaching and the schemes and everything. The players need to get better. And, you hope that having a full spring practice, which fingers crossed the Buckeyes will have this year, and then a more normal summer and a fall camp will get them, practice reps and things that they lost last year, frankly. It's Shaun Wade's gone. He was the most experienced last year. You get Sevyn Banks back, who was inconsistent throughout the 2020 season. The one guy who probably gets forgotten about is Cameron Brown, the cornerback who was really kind of going to rotate with Sevyn Banks unless one of them took that job. He hurt his Achilles against Penn State in that second game of the season. So, you lose some depth there. There's a lot of young guys that could step in at corner. Legend Cavazos, Ryan Watts. I'm probably forgetting a few, but there's a handful of guys there that will definitely compete. And then at safety, what do you do? Neither Josh Proctor nor Marcus Hooker was great. They both kind of possess certain things they do well, but neither seems to be the full picture of that single high safety. So, how do you handle that? Lathan Ransom, who was a freshman last year, stepped in and played well. So there's a lot of questions that need to be figured out about that group. Offensively, you mentioned the running backs, and that's exactly where I was going to go. You lose Trey Sermon, who obviously didn't come on really until late, but once he did, was the clear best running back on the roster. Master T came in the national championship game after Sermon got hurt and played well. Scored 2 touchdowns, had almost 70 yards, but just not the same vision, not the explosiveness of a guy like Trey Sermon and running backs you've seen from an Ohio State offense in recent years. Ezekiel Elliott, things like that. The offense was just more balanced when they had Trey Sermon rolling in there. And I think they need to figure out, is Master Teague a guy who we can trust on those big stages? Or do we need to get other guys in there throughout the course of the year to be ready to play? Because you saw Marcus Crowley come back. He hadn't played since suffering a knee injury in November of 2019. He played in the national championship game. Is he a guy? You saw a little bit of Steel Chambers throughout the year. Mayan Williamson came on at the end of the year and had a few nice runs, but small sample size. And then 2 freshmen come in Travion Henderson, the 5-star #1 running back in the country out of Michigan, and Evan Pryor, who's I believe a top 10 running back as well. So, young running backs don't always do all of the little things. Fans always want them to get in quickly, but you need to block. You need to be able to do all the little, see the holes and stuff that maybe you don't have to do as much in high school. But these are 2 really talented kids coming in. So I think the Master T question is big this offseason, because if he can be the guy, great. You have an established 3rd-year guy in the 4th-year guy, really. He redshirted his first year in the program that if he can take it over. But if not, you need to find that guy. You just saw the difference in the way the offense felt when they had Trey Sermon there. And then the one other one I would touch on quickly is the linebackers. Ohio State the last few years has been so consistent with the guys they've had: Tuff Borland, Pete Warner, Baron Browning, Justin Hilliard the last couple of years once he got healthy. There's a group of 2018 linebackers from that recruiting class that have patiently waited for their chances to get in there. This would seem to be the opportunity. There's 3 of them. There's 3 spots. You can fit those holes. But, I think the best guys will play, and it'll be up to Al Washington to figure that out. Ohio State's recruited the position really well. We just haven't seen a ton of the guys. So figuring out, which guys and which roles, and that still goes back to the scheme and what you're going to do. Are you still going to have kind of that Sam linebacker that covers tight ends and kind of plays like a hybrid safety linebacker position, things like that. So those are the 3 positions that probably if you ask me today, I'm most intrigued about heading into the off season. But we never know what's going to happen, and we could get in a spring ball, and there could be answers for those and new questions for others. So it'll be interesting to see once they put back on the pads and kind of get back out there where things stand with all those spots.
It's that non-scientific mix of recruiting into development and producing a product on the field, because there's been no lack of recruiting. So it's not like the recruiting classes have been top 3, but not at the linebacker or secondary positions. They've been loaded, but all that 4.4 speed goes out the window when you're taking a couple false steps the wrong way and aren't reading things. There it goes. And it's that interesting combination of the two, plus getting evaluated as a junior in high school, and that's where most of the evaluation comes into play. Some guys have pretty much tapped their ceiling at that point, and other guys continue to develop and become much better players between the ages of 17 and 19 or 20. So it's not exactly a perfect science, no question. That's why you bring in masses and masses of talent, as they do at Ohio State. Pat Murphy, Bucknuts 247 Sports. Okay, Pat, in future weeks, we're going to hit you up with like your most exhilarating win as an Ohio State fan, like most excruciating loss, favorite player, a lot of good stuff we're going to throw.
All right. I'll have to dig back into the fanhood that I buried when I got into the media side of things and really try and get that inner emotion out so I can have some good answers for you.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like when the Michigan game got canceled, all sorts of people were hitting me with, man, you must have been disappointed, and how'd you respond? And I was just like, I just knew that I had to do X, Y, and Z. Didn't hit me like it did when I was 15 years old. That's just the way it goes. We still love it, but it's a job. Pat, appreciate you stopping by.
Yep, anytime.